Hey everybody, welcome back to the 6th round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We are coming to you following this UFC event, their first UFC APEX event, UFC on ESPN 9, Woodley versus Burns, and Gilbert Burns turning in a career best performance, and Tyron Woodley turning in a career worst performance in the main event here.
Yeah, makes me wonder. Is this Woodley on the downside, on the downslope, in the twilight of his career? Or is this Gilbert just rising to the occasion and he's a legit, real deal title contender?
I mean, there's definitely a part of it that you can't dismiss what Gilbert Burns did. He came out, he put pressure on Woodley early, he landed the hard shots early, he hurt Woodley, but it's also clear it's not like Burns then for the rest of the bout like went all Anderson Silva Matrix on Tyron Woodley. There was a lot of Burns just walking Woodley down and Woodley having nothing in response to like eating a couple leg kicks or couple low kicks, eating a couple body shots. It was just, I think it's both. Like we've clearly seen Burns is progressing. He's becoming a better and better fighter. He's clearly an elite fighter now. But Woodley, we talked about his depression after losing his belt. He talked about losing a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And he's also built a style for himself. He has narrowed his style over the years more and more into being something dependent on precise speed and timing.
And the thing is, today I just realized he was 38.
Yeah. As a 38-year-old man who's especially below, once you get below like middleweight, especially, below light heavyweight and divisions like that.
Speed matters, a lot.
Speed matters so much, There are very few fighters Woodley's age who hold on that long at an elite level. It rarely ever happens below middleweight. And for somebody who's, like I say, who's built their whole thing on speed and timing, if that speed gets a hair slower and he can't surprise somebody anymore, then landing one big hard shot every 2 minutes is just not going to win you that many fights.
Yeah, it's credit to Burns for scouting properly and executing the plan and, just sticking to it. Even when he knew he had it in the bag, he kept pressing the action, kept putting Woodley where he was most passive.
Yep.
And it won him the fight. Even if Burns wasn't throwing, he was at least moving forward and stepping into the pocket, making Woodley think he was going to throw. Yeah. And that was enough to freeze him.
Yeah, he kept Woodley under pressure the whole time and kept himself safe, which at that point, you can't knock that kind of performance from Burns.
And what a way to set the tone. Like you come out and in the first flurry you throw, rocks and then drops the former champion. Yeah. That's got to be a major surge in confidence, because he has to have nerves coming in. Does he belong there? Does he not? This is huge for him. So, starting the fight off in that manner, I think it really set the tone for him. And, he just looked like he belonged there. And
yeah. Well, and too, you got to remember with somebody like Burns, like he's a multiple-time world BJJ champ. He knows, he's got the confidence in himself that he knows that he's championship material. He has been a world champion in a combat sport before, and I think it's a real credit to the progression that Hoof's kickboxing and striking coaching has provided his fighters over the years, to build them into really fundamentally sound, strong, flexible fighters who can go out there with a plan and stick to it and take apart an opponent like this, Yeah,
it's like Burns was raw enough of a striker to where there wasn't too much to tear down to rebuild back up. So it
was notable when he first started his MMA career, because he's been with Hoof most of the way through, even back in like a lot of his early pre-UFC bouts. it was notable how much like you'd watch his fights and you could see that his corner and his team were like prompting him just stand and trade, like stay in there, stay on your feet, kickbox with these people, learn all the fundamentals, test yourself out there. Yeah. And he suffered a couple bad losses that way along the way, got knocked out by Dan Hooker, but the payoff in the long run is that he's a pretty confident, good kickboxer.
Yeah, a pressure striker at that.
Yep.
And that's fun. He's so much fun to watch. And like that's the thing is like he's going to start getting guys shooting on him, looking to take him down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his bread and butter. That's where he wants to be. There was even a moment where Burns, I think he might have slipped and he landed on his back. And then Woodley was like, I don't think so. And Burns just kind of smiled and he was like, yeah, I understand.
Yeah, no. I mean, even if he doesn't have to depend on it that much, the reputation is going to carry him for so many fighters, Like, they know he's a world champion grappler. They're not going to want to test that.
No, it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
Too much is at stake.
Yep. So really, really impressive win for Burns. But yeah, for Woodley, I mean, man, I wish he'd held on to more of his money. Man,
that is probably the number one thing to say about prize fighters or professional athletes in general, really.
Yeah.
A lot of them,
they go through and they think the money's going to last forever, so they spend it like it's going to last forever. And now here's Tyron Woodley looking at, he's got it, and it's only 2 straight losses. There's only 1 loss from the title fight, but this feels like there's something broken. Like he lost 10 straight rounds.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like, when was the last time you saw him winning? Not necessarily winning a fight, but like just winning anything. Exchanges, grappling exchanges.
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And I mean, like the Darson Till doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it kind of was. Like it's getting to be a while ago.
Yep. And, even before that, he hadn't fought for a year before that fight,
Yeah. I mean, this could be the wheels falling off.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long he can stick around in the elite of the division because, if he had a more diverse game to offer, you could consider he could be more like Damian Maia. Like Maia is stuck around well into his 40s as an elite welterweight,
Yeah. And that's, again, because he's not relying on his reflexes and explosiveness and speed and athleticism. He's pure technique, which that carries. There's longevity there.
But for Woodley, he's relied a lot on that one big bomb that's going to shock you and surprise you. Won't see it coming, and that's always the trick with a knockout. It's usually not. It's not the hardest punch that hits you. It's the punch that you don't see that knocks you out. And if you lose a little bit of the speed, a little tiny bit of the reflexes on those punches, it's the Roy Nelson thing. Not to compare Tyron Woodley to Roy Nelson, but there was a point in time when Roy Nelson was knocking every single person he fought out. And then he got a tiny bit slower, and suddenly he was just getting beat up for 5 rounds.
Yeah. And like they start to get trigger shy also.
Yeah.
Because they're getting beat up because they're not landing anything. They're not getting any respect. And that's the thing is Woodley got 0 respect in this fight.
No, none.
Not an ounce of respect was to be found anywhere. This was awesome for Burns.
Yeah. Great win for him. It'll be fascinating to see what he gets next. I mean, he called out Kamaru Usman, and it's interesting because the UFC is kind of talking like they're not really that interested in doing Masvidal Usman next. And Masvidal's the big money fight out there, but after that, like Edwards, Burns, there's not a lot to separate out the rest of the contenders at the top of the welterweight division. To say one person definitely has the shot over any other.
No, it's a weird division.
Yeah,
it's a weird division where like I don't even care. I probably care least about the title at welterweight than any other division.
Fair.
I mean, it's so meaningless that they went and created a BMF title in that same division just because it's so stale and no one cares. Like, I don't want to see Usman fight anybody other than Colby Covington, because then they'll stand and bang the whole time. Like, that's just the reality of it.
Weird. I can't follow you. I'm not following that whole thing, but I get it. I'm just not. I'm not going on that journey with you.
That's fine. I'll go solo.
That's right. All right. Well, let's talk about this heavyweight fight, co-main event, and Augusto Sakai squeaking out a win over Blagoy Ivanov. Got 130-27 card against him. But the real kind of story, the real story of the fight was that fence grab in round 3 really kept him in this bout and got him the win.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I don't know if I've ever seen in modern day MMA a fence grab that was so obvious to stop a takedown from happening where a point wasn't deducted.
Yeah.
Like, what is a hard warning? Like, what's the difference between a warning and a hard warning?
Well, you say the hard warning louder. That's
is that what it is? Is the volume in which you say it?
Yeah.
The sternness of your voice?
Yes. Well, like, I mean, MMA is always about, like, you get all the fouls you try to get away with, basically.
Right.
So, I'm not totally shocked that Sakai got away with it, but it was definitely one of those things where, like, if Ivanov had gotten that, who knows what would have happened. But he didn't, and Sakai just started pouring more volume on him after that to take that round and seal it up. And I
mean, I'll go one step further and say that fence grab is not why Ivanov lost this fight.
That's not. Fair. I mean, it is always fair to say that the fighter has to take whatever the fight is in front of them, however it happens to go. Yeah. And after he didn't get that takedown, Ivanov had every chance to keep winning the fight as much as Sakai did.
Right.
But Sakai was clearly the one that was bolstered by that turn of events. And
yeah, I mean, things happen and fouls happen. Yeah. Just like, an eye poke that the ref doesn't see, or a groin shot, or like it's the same thing. Sometimes fouls don't get called, and sometimes a no call is the right call if the ref doesn't see it.
Yeah.
So, you got to play through and not worry about that. And Ivanov did that. He didn't sweat it one bit. He didn't complain. He just kept fighting. This looked like a Father's Day breakfast at the local Denny's gone awry.
Well, yeah.
I hate to say it. It wasn't the best fight.
No, Sakai's been, he's been fighting his way into shape for his entire career.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like he's getting there, but there's also still just a lot of extra skin left.
Yes. He's very skinny, but not in like the slim kind, just like excess.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ivanov has always just kind of been, a dumpling shaped human. And I mean, that's how you be a 5'11" heavyweight. You don't do it because you like really are into like keto and, you're really doing a fat burning diet.
No, ketosis is not. You're not doing intermittent fasting.
No, there's no intermittent fasting. Is that half hour between meals?
Yeah. Ivanov, and he's so freaking durable. He's just like so thick and just built to handle abuse.
Yes,
it's insane. But like he's such a one-hitter quitter kind of fighter, but doesn't have the one-hitter quitter power.
Yeah, that's going to be a struggle for him in the UFC. There's a hard cap on that kind of thing where it's like you're not really a volume striker and you're not known as a one-punch knockout guy. At heavyweight, like there are so many other heavyweights who will hit harder than you, or if they can't, they'll try to punch more. They'll be Sakai. They'll just punch more.
Right. At least he's tough, though.
Yeah, he's incredibly tough. So
tough break for him. I mean, this is going to be a tough loss. It's a split. Yeah. The fence grab obviously went not getting your win bonus. This is a tough one for Ivanov here.
And it's especially too like coming on the heels of that Derek Lewis split decision loss too.
Oh yeah.
He's going to be coming back. He's going to be looking at this feeling like he's just gotten robbed in his last 2 fights, but it's dropping him down to 2-3 in the UFC now.
Oh, well, 2-2. Or, oh no, you're right. Yeah. Whoa, wow.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's not a good look, which is crazy because he could be 4-1.
Exactly. It's rough out there. It's rough at especially at heavyweight when neither guy's landing that many strikes and that likely to really pull away with a huge volume edge. If you're not knocking people out, you are really walking thin margins.
Yeah. That's got to be tough, man, being a heavyweight without power.
All right, so let's get to the most controversial moment of the night. Billy Quarantillo, got to say it right. He made a point out of it. Billy Quarantillo.
Tio.
It's Tillo. Yeah. Quarantillo. Picking up the unanimous decision win over Spike Carlisle. I did not think he would get it, but I am happy he did.
Yeah, I can understand why he did.
Yep.
And it's got to be because Carlisle did that. Oh, there's 10 seconds. I'm just going to stand up and walk away.
That's a big part of it.
Expect this guy to just sit there and take it. It's like, no, dude, he's a fighter. He's going to get up and snuff you. Like, what are you doing?
Well, I think Carlisle just heard the slaps and was like, oh, round's over. Just like one of those, the body, the brain is lagging 5 seconds behind the body kind of things.
I don't know. I think he was cheating the round. Sometimes you cheat the round. It's like, it's over.
Not to like stand up off the ground like that though. No, I think he literally just thought that round was over. He was strutting back to his corner. Like, I think he thought he just heard the slaps and mistimed it, thought the bell.
Yeah, he timed it wrong.
Was in the moment. And I think that didn't help him. I certainly, he got dropped off that. So it's not, it was not a good look, not a good way to end the round at all. But it's also one of those things where, like, in the second round of that fight, or after the first round of that fight, he got a lot of physicality and control going, but he didn't get that much actual offense off,
No, he was very controlling. He looked huge. He was manhandling Billy Q out there, ragdolling him at points. But honestly, it was Billy that was, locking up the triangles and, elbowing from his back and the drop there at the end of the round.
Yep.
Those were that's the closest the fight came to being stopped in those rounds.
Yeah.
In that round. So, I mean, I understand the decision here, and I understand why some people might be like, oh, Carlisle won that fight. But, like, nah.
Nah, he got a really strong first round off. The thing is that he is clearly a huge physical step up from your average UFC featherweight.
Yeah.
He's clearly a beast, clearly a physical specimen, great athlete. But there's not a lot of technique in his game. There's not a lot else to what he's doing out there. And once the physicality drained away, like once he got a little bit tighter, like he came out on House on Fire, manhandled Quarantillo for the first round. And he started out the round two like that, and he got some big moments, and he got some big, like, clearly just like pushing Quarantillo off him, bursting back up to his feet, or hitting an easy takedown, something like that just makes you be like, wow, this dude is way stronger than his opponent. But the actual offense that came after it, once he was getting tired, like the technical tools weren't there.
Yeah. And, it's not like this guy goes to a lot of decisions too. He typically runs through people. And so, he finds himself late in fights and things start getting dicey.
Yeah.
And, that's something to address, but I just hope he doesn't address it in that, what's his name? Alex
Hernandez way. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I mean, I get the feeling he's a little crazier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Hernandez, to his detriment, is kind of is pretty on the ball, like
He's
considerate of the information in front of him, and it's like, oh wow, I really got beat up by this dude bad. I'd better check myself and like dial it back a little, try to become a little less aggressive, a little, be more technical. And then it was sort of like, yeah, but the aggression was what was carrying you. I don't get the feeling Carlisle is going to be like, I need to check myself after that loss. I bet he's going to go out there and be like, I need to go even crazier on the next guy.
Yeah, it's like it's just shy of Michel Pereira.
Yeah,
sort of level.
He has a very Ricky Simone vibe,
Yeah,
like
I'm with you on that.
He's just a wild man,
he's
and he's going to keep being a wild man.
He's an Ion Cutelaba.
Yeah. So
he's fun. He's definitely fun.
He's definitely fun. Like he's a physical beast, and he will go out there and just go crazy on you.
I'm more excited to see his next fight than I am Billy Q's next fight.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with an athlete like that, and with somebody who's got that kind of aggression, like that athletic base and that aggression, those things combined are what makes great fighters down the road. So, it's unfortunate, but being like the ropey, tricky grapple guy does not tend to make champions. And
I'll say this: it is good to see that Carlisle. Yes, he lost, but he didn't get caught in the submissions.
Yeah,
that was really good to see.
And afterward too, he's like, my big goal was to entertain everybody. I did that, so build a statue to me, and like his confidence is unchecked by this. So I think we'll get more fun, exciting fights out of him in the future.
Yeah, this was definitely a fun fight.
Yeah. I am shocked. In fact, I just saw that Royval Elliott won fight of the night. I am shocked this did not win fight of the night.
What? Are you kidding me?
Like, Royval Elliott was a cool fight and all. I think maybe Royval deserved like a performance of the night bonus off of it or something. But Quarantillo Carlisle was the wild, crazy, where is this fight going fight of the night.
Yeah, I mean, it barely. Whatever, man. There's got to be something there. It's like, I don't know.
Oh, you know what it is?
In the fold.
You know what it is?
What's that?
It's Carlisle's fault. He missed weight, and if you miss weight, oh wait, no, he didn't miss weight. There's a catch weight. Never mind.
Yeah.
Missed weight. So
he was smart. He ahead of time. He was like, "Hey, man, I'm not going to make weight. You want to do 150?" I'm like, "All right, cool."
That's right. He didn't miss weight. I'm glad that they did a catch weight for. He is a Hulk. Like that's the thing is he's clearly the dude is huge for featherweight.
Yeah, and his first rounds are ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know why it didn't win fight of the night. It should have, but oh well.
It's 2020. Nothing makes sense.
That's true. The whole world's going crazy. All right. That brings us to a catchweight bout for Brock Weaver, who did miss weight against Roosevelt Roberts. And this was just a pure outclassing from Roberts, start to finish.
Oh, yeah. Weaver, I mean, bless his heart. He tried to close the distance and get the cage control. But like once he got there, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Once that didn't work and he couldn't just bulldoze a takedown, he was kind of left out back. And Roberts just kind of did what he wanted. He stuffed the takedowns. He found open space. He was landing all the clean counter strikes on the feet. And once he got a takedown, I mean, Weaver was done for. Like he fought a little bit and fought off the rear naked choke at first, but after eating those vicious ground strikes, it was a wrap.
Yeah, great fight from Roberts, who continues to look like a pretty good prospect. I mean, it is like there's some physicality missing from his game that Vince Pichel took advantage of, and that Weaver was able to like get him in the clinch a lot early in this fight that Roberts needs to work on. But he's a slick fighter from range, and he's got a really fun, aggressive grappling game to go with it. So definitely excited to see what he can keep doing at lightweight.
Yeah, he's fun. And he's tall, real tall for the division.
Yep.
And I like that.
All right, that brings us to a women's strawweight bout. Mackenzie Dern, Hannah Seifers, and man, this was one of those things where like this fight was so obviously booked on the face for Seifers to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt so good watching her come out and just like frame in the clinch and start clubbing Dern with shots and just looking like
needed a face,
going ham on Dern, and like you know, it's just like the underdog is doing it. She has this. Go Hannah. And then Dern, you know, they had a scramble. Dern got her to scramble with her on the mat. Seifers had that moment where she was totally clear, where she had shucked Dern off, and it's like getting up off of her knees, and you're just like, here's your decision moment, and she dove back in on Dern to try to chase her down on the mat, and instantly got knee barred.
Mm-hmm. And that was the thing, because she was stuffing the takedowns.
Yeah.
But it was actually a botched takedown from Dern that led to her just Dern flopping to her back and rolling for the leg. And man, Seifers was almost out of harm's way. But that's the thing is you have to go into panic mode. You have to go into survival mode. You know, with certain when you're up against someone who is that much better of a grappler than you, and I see this in the leg, especially leg lock specialists. You know, people get too comfortable there, and next thing they know, boom, their knee snapped or they're tapping because. Well,
you know, for somebody who's as good an aggressive sub hunter as Dern is, there's just a lot of advantage to the fact that, you know, fighters, they train with this idea. So many of them, like, if somebody's on their back, you dive in and you throw shots. Like, that is what you do. Chase your opponent when they're on their back, because if you're on top, you are winning. And that's a good fundamental metagame kind of strategy. But you train that way for years, and suddenly you enter a situation like this, and it's going to be so hard to reprogram your body in that split second where because, you know, it's not like she has time to think about what do I do here. It's just got to be the instinct. What is your instinct carrying you to do? And the instinct is dive in and land shots. And that is exactly the wrong instinct.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody's different. I mean, some people are instinctual in those moments, and some people are more cerebral in those moments. And it's like she was too late. Once she realized what was happening, she was deep.
Yeah.
This was cool though. UFC, I like seeing Dern, flop her way to submissions.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if she's gonna win, that's the way you want to see her win, is getting some funky, wild submission. You know, when nobody really wants to see Dern like go out there and like start swanging on people. We want to see the heel hook and the knee bar and
like that's the thing is Dern isn't a great wrestler, and like her hands looked faster than usual and more straight this time out. I'll give her that also. But man, I think she would be so well served at strawweight if she gets a mean like deep half guard like Damian Maia does, and learn to just pull half guard and sweep people.
Yeah, she's got to get that. She's got to get on that Maia school. But at the same time, you know, there aren't a lot of other great wrestlers. Strawweight has more than women's bantamweight and women's flyweight, to be fair, because she does have to deal at that point with like Carla Esparza and dang it, why am I forgetting?
Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah, Tatiana Suarez, and Joanna's a pretty great counter wrestler, and Gadelha and, you know, Jessica Andrade. Like, it actually has more powerful, fundamentally solid takedown artists. And
but that's the thing is like, it's not counter wrestling though, because you're essentially giving people who want the takedown. Yeah. And they think, I'm getting the takedown. And then next thing they know, they're getting swept.
Yeah.
You know, that's Damian Maia 101. And Dern would just be so well served.
It's true. Maia is one of the few people to have mastered that though. Like,
yeah.
You know, we can say, she would be well served by this, but a lot of people would be well served by Maya's game.
Well, let me say this: she would be well served, and I also believe she has the capabilities of mastering such a thing.
Fair enough.
She already has that fundamental. You know, she's already leaps and bounds above everybody else in terms of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be much to add that kind of wrinkle to her game.
Very fair. Either way, the UFC gets the result they clearly wanted out of this fight, which is another opportunity to push Dern as a potential future title contender.
And we got a knee bar. And
we got a knee bar. Can't complain about that. That brings us to a women's flyweight bout. Katlyn Chookagian, Antonina Shevchenko. And this is getting very much to be the Abubakar Nurmagomedov situation. Where, I know Abubakar is Khabib's cousin, but it's just clear that Antonina Shevchenko is not Valentina Shevchenko in any way, shape, or form.
The Dan and Joe Lozon.
Yeah.
I think there's some Miller brothers, too, out there. The Guida brothers, I can keep it going.
MMA has had its fair share of incredibly successful and incredibly unsuccessful sibling pairs, but yeah, Shevchenko, man, Chookagian just stuffed her in a locker this fight.
Yeah, Chookagian is just much more polished on the ground and completely realized that and completely exploited the holes in Shevchenko's ground game. And it's kind of, there's some poetic justice there, I guess, in a sense, since her title shot was foiled by Valentina Shevchenko, and then she can go beat up her little sister.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's got to be it's got to be the result she wanted out of this fight. But although Antonina is actually the older sister.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, but
my apologies.
Yeah, it's also really good to see somebody like Chookagian, who is almost entirely a volume striker, realize that there's a clear path to victory here and just take it, Yeah.
Because
even in round 3, when she started trying to play around with the striking game for a bit, Shevchenko did start landing solid shots on her. It was clearly not. The best path to victory was clearly through this wrestling and grappling game, and it was utterly dominant, just total one-way traffic for her. Of course, somebody else noted, I saw when I was doing the live Twitter for this, it does kind of, there's a continual unfortunate realization with the UFC matchmaking in women's flyweight that the bulk of that division is still just not in any way prepared for Valentina Shevchenko. And there aren't very many fighters on the way up who are close to being ready.
Well, no, I mean, it's starting to look like how flyweight used to look in the men's division.
Yeah.
With, you got a champion and then you have a very dominant number 2.
Yeah.
And then way, way down the line is everybody else.
Yeah.
So Chookagian is turning into Joseph Benavidez.
I mean, the thing, it's just, especially with Chookagian and they're both really fairly solid fighters, very capable of turning back the bulk of the new contenders on the rise. And then you see them in their title fights with Shevchenko, and it's not even a little close.
Has I even woken up from that head kick?
I think she won a fight since then, so yeah, she must have come around at some point.
All right, good for her.
But maybe she didn't. Maybe she could win. Maybe she can still beat the rest of that competition with while still comatose. That's kind of the problem.
That's how good she is and how bad the rest of the division is.
Yeah.
And just how out of this world Valentina Shevchenko is.
Yeah. There's just a cliff there.
It's kind of cool that I appreciate the excellence and the dominance
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually always happy to see a really dominant champion just get fed fights, and like whoever's supposed to be the best, go fight her. I want to watch it. That's fine by me. I'm not in this like it must be competitive for me to think that this person's any good mindset.
It's just more fun if the top 5 contenders are somewhat equal in talent and skill, and it's not it's not such a vast. There's not all this variance in skill set and quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get excited for the people coming up. Like a young prospect. Like we got Macy Barber was like the next big prospect, and she gets turned back by Roxanne Modafferi, and it's just like, we're not seeing that person come along that just really looks like they have a threat to offer.
Nope. You mean you're not feeling Meatball Molly?
Well, vibing with, yes. Would put money on to beat Valentina Shevchenko?
Not a chance.
No. All right. That gets us to a welterweight bout. Daniel Rodriguez, Gabriel Green. This was a pretty solid fight for a 3-round decision. Green came in absolutely dedicated to that sort of very Manny Newton style of just like slapping, spinning, constant output kickboxing without a lot of power, but a lot of volume. And, it made for a fun fight because Rodriguez is very much like a one power shot at a time kind of guy.
Yeah, it was a nice clash of styles.
Yeah.
And I realize I like watching Daniel Rodriguez fight. It's so just basic. Hammers. Yeah, but it's so basic, but it's so effective at the same time. It's just a bunch of 1-2s. Yep. Maybe a 1-1-2, maybe just 2. There'll be times where he is willing to brawl and he starts getting a little crazy with it, and you're like, oh, he might get clipped here, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like necessarily a world beater.
No, but he's got a good chin, and he's got a lot of confidence in his power, and that's going to keep him in a lot of fun fights if he's just willing to stand in with people. And, if he fought somebody like Mike Perry, you'd watch the hell out of that.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Perry, Price, any of those guys.
Yeah, like the welterweight's they've got a whole bunch of dudes who just throw absolute bombs. And Rodriguez is he's slotting himself nicely into that kind of metagame in the welterweight division.
What camp is he with again?
Man, I don't know.
I forgot. Someone who was in his corner? Was it Eddie Bravo?
Oh yeah, I think it might have been.
Yeah, he might Bravo be in his corner.
10th Planet guy, but Eddie Bravo's not a whole camp. Yeah, he's 10th Planet and Tap Out LA, which
that can't be right.
That seems mostly like a chain gym, just place to get some rounds and some do some sparring.
Yeah.
So that would explain why his style is essentially ones, twos, and variations thereof.
Yeah. It's effective, though.
Yeah.
I like seeing the simple things work.
That brings us to a light heavyweight bout. Jamahal Hill, Klidson Abreu. I really thought Abreu would have more to offer this fight.
Yeah. He seemed a lot tougher than Hill made him look.
Yep.
He looked extremely durable. I thought he was a lot more durable.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just Hill being, such a great athlete and throwing all the right strikes.
I do get the feeling this might have been a corner turning moment for Hill because he's clearly a good athlete.
Yeah.
And he's clearly started MMA pretty raw without doesn't look like he has a great wrestling base or jiu-jitsu base. Doesn't look like he's got, some amazing technical kickboxing base or anything like that. And he's only been doing MMA for 3 years. So what we're seeing is a very good athlete picking things up pretty fast and evolving quickly the way you'd want to see a good athlete evolve.
Yeah, it's great to see. And I mean, and that's the thing, if you're that good of an athlete it usually translates into the other athletic endeavors that you do. We see that a lot with collegiate NCAA, wrestlers. They'll come over and all of a sudden they're developing, a really pretty overhand right, or they're developing head kicks, and it's because there's something about it. They just have control over their body. They're used to controlling their movements and the way they move. And it seems easier to pick up on things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really coordinated, it's going to be easier to learn moves and, develop muscle memory just with your natural coordination. And two, like, if you're really fast, you can afford to make more mistakes while you're learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you can have your hands in the wrong place if you're fast enough to just lean back when you see a punch coming. And that affords you more ability to kind of develop and soak in lessons as you need them, rather than having to have them purely beat into you.
Yeah, and I mean the key really is to find the sweet spot and not rely on that athleticism, and actually build the technique as you're going along, instead of taking like a Derek Brunson approach and just be like, these are the tech I learned these, and this is what I'm gonna throw, and whatever happens happens.
But Hill looks good. It looks like he's getting the right techniques down. He looks like a fighter who is really finding some good confidence in kickboxing fundamentals out there. And this was a rock solid, really good win over a guy who's really tough to finish.
Yeah, I mean, 6'4", big wingspan, 205 pounds. This is what 205 needs.
Yep. Solid performance from him. That brings us to what ended up being fight of the night. Was also a fantastic bout. Don't mean to knock it. Really, honestly, I will say this. I'm very glad. I think Quarantillo Carlisle deserved it more, but I'm really glad that Royval got his money, because he was so upset after this fight.
Yeah, he was like, I got to go to work this weekend or whatever. Yeah. He's like, yeah.
He had, for him, it was just like, I didn't do nearly enough to get a bonus out of this. I need a bonus. I'm trying to change my life. This isn't going to do it. I'm not happy with any of this. And after walking in and getting a really good submission win over Tim Elliott, and it's like, I get it. I'm glad, really good artists, good performers are never happy with their own work.
Yeah.
I'm not upset to see it, but it's also just like, I'm glad this guy gets a little help out for, so he doesn't have to go do whatever his job is, his day job. Maybe he can actually quit it sooner or later.
Yeah.
And
it's life-changing money, man.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you can do when you're good enough as is to make it to the UFC while working some other job. Like what you can do when you can focus 100% of your efforts just into training, just into fighting.
Yeah, Royval does seem like a dude who could use a little extra conditioning, could use a little more individual striking coaching and things like that. Could use more of the dedicated time. Like he said afterward, I think I saw a quote from him afterward that he's sleeping 3 hours a night because he has to do work shifts and then train.
Yeah, that's not healthy. That's how injuries happen.
Yeah. So
good for
on
him.
that note, I'm very happy he got that check.
Yeah, and tough fight. Elliott, he's so wily, and I really felt like he was on his way to losing anyways. It's like he goes for all these takedowns and does nothing with them. There's no payoff for it, and then it just seems like it's a matter of time before he gets caught in some way, shape, or form.
Well, he's developed this really much more than he used to have, even a really seriously front-running style.
Yeah.
Where he starts out really fast, really energetic, moving around a lot. And then the result is, after the first round, he always gets really tired. He always burns out. He always gets really flat-footed. And more, his last fight, he let Askarov, who's known primarily almost totally just as a really good scrambling grappler, put a kickboxing clinic on him in his last bout, and then in this fight with Royval, it just became one of those things where, early on, his wrestling takedowns were creating a lot of dominant positions for him and clearly winning him the fight. But as he got a little more tired, Royval was the one who wanted to keep scrambling, and Elliott couldn't keep up.
And that was definitely good to see from Royval. If you're going to be at flyweight, you have to be able to get up.
Yeah.
You can't be held down. If you're getting held down at flyweight, you're doomed. There's no cure for that.
It is really weird for me though to hear him talk afterward on the mic too about he's like, I'm a striker. I'm not out here to have these grappling chains and all that. I'm I have watched tape on you. You grapple. You always end up grappling.
All his wins are by submission.
All of his takedown defense is it seems to me like he was a guy who's oh yeah, I'm willing to throw a bunch of really wild strikes, and if you take me down, I'll out grapple you. But to hear him rephrase it himself as I don't want to grapple, I want to strike, it's just weird. There's a very weird cognitive dissonance there.
Yeah, fighters are weird, man.
Yeah, no
There's
question.
No figuring them out.
All right, before that, Casey Kenny beat Louis Smolka. And rough loss for Smolka. He tried to go after Kenny like Kenny was Ryan McDonald. And it worked for a little bit, but then Kenny started catching him every time Smolka started kept ducking in, and things turned around in a hurry after that.
Yeah, once Smolka was wobbled, it was a wrap.
Yeah.
That guillotine that Kenny attacked was, man, that thing was so freaking tight. And it was such a kind of a wonky angle that he caught.
Yeah, really was.
But he just fully committed to it. He knew he had it locked up, and he gave it everything he had, and it paid off.
Well, I think it's one of those things too where even if he didn't have the best grip, even if it wasn't quite the right position, the way his body was able to twist over the top of Smolka while he had the arm under his neck created a huge amount of torque there, I think.
Yeah, and worst case, he doesn't get the sub. Okay, he's still in top position.
Yeah.
So it was excellent. It was excellent instincts to immediately attack the choke when you have your opponent hurt.
Yep. Great win for him.
Good. Tough break for Smolka, man. I feel like he's always losing.
Yeah, I mean, there are still fun fights for him at bantamweight and stuff like that, but it's going to be hard for him to go on the kind of run that he was on for a little while outside of the flyweight career early on, where he had that.
He was ranked at one point.
Yeah, he had a 4-fight winning streak at flyweight, which he then followed with 2 performance of the night bonuses in there, which then was immediately followed by a 4-fight losing streak and getting cut out of the UFC. And he's picked up a couple wins over the lowest end of competition in the UFC now. And when he's got that in front of him, when he's got people that really aren't prepared, aren't that deeply skilled, it's clear that he's put a lot of technical work in. His boxing is sharper. He throws volume. He's working the body. He's, really going after people and putting together a good fight. But, Casey Kenny and Matt Schnell aren't exactly huge hitters, and they've both been able to hurt him and choke him out now.
Well, that's the thing. If you go look at Smolka on the regional scene, he's smoking people.
Yeah.
He's putting them on. He's like King Regional,
Yeah.
He will nuke anyone regionally that isn't someone who is UFC bound or of that caliber. But, you throw him in there with UFC caliber competition, and it's a 50-50 proposition.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to our opening bout. Featherweight fight, Chris Gutierrez, Vince Morales. And of all the fights on this card that I was wrong about, I mean, I was way wrong about Jamahal Hill versus Klidson Abreu. But I really feel I knew that if Abreu couldn't get Hill down and sub him, that he would get beat up. But this was just like, this was totally shocking to me. This was a complete surprise of Gutierrez just absolutely manhandling Vince Morales.
Yeah, this was an ass kicking. TKO by leg kicks? Like, are you kidding me? That's and a knee bar in the same card. Like, okay, all right, 2020, I see you. That's great to see, man. He was so dominant out there.
Yeah,
and poor Vince, man. He looked like he just was not ready.
No,
like he's never checked a kick in his life. Or maybe it was just the fact that they were calf kicks. A lot of guys don't train for calf kicks or how to block them, how to check them. So they just kind of eat them and it's just over and over. Like Michael Chandler, he's notorious for eating calf kicks.
Yeah, like it's especially tough for somebody like Morales, who's so dedicated to being a boxer and putting his weight right down on his front foot and standing flat-footed in front of his opponent.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen Gutierrez put together that kind of strong, dominant striking performance against somebody that wasn't Ryan McDonald. You know,
it was good to see. It was impressive.
It really was. He got an opening, and after that, like he built on it in ways that were really, really beautiful. Just feinting the low kicks and coming in with hooks. Then being able to feint the hooks and come back with the kicks, kicking the opposite leg, just absolutely wrecked Morales. Perfect performance from Chris Gutierrez.
Honestly, I mean, it was a little hard to watch. I mean, I would have been fine if the ref stopped it a lot sooner, if the corner would have stopped it a lot sooner. Like, that dude's leg, he's not going to be walking right for a while.
Yeah,
that's the thing about the low calf kicks, man. It's such a different kind of pain. It's like not so much the pain as it just like kills your leg altogether, and you're no longer stable on that leg. They're brutal, man.
And it's also probably why a lot of people don't train them that much, is because like it's hard to train that, you know, like if you're gonna get kicked in the calf a bunch in training and like have to learn how to block it in camp, like you might miss a week at camp if you can't get around very good anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they're shin guards, you know.
But, yeah, fair enough. But tough loss for Morales.
Yeah, but, you know, this was Gutierrez's time to shine. And I guarantee whoever he fights next will be working on checking leg kicks.
You gotta take the risk. Make sure you know how to check him if you're going to fight him. And I kind of wish that's the only other thing too is, you know, this fight, the Quarantillo Carlisle fight at 150, it's actually kind of, I don't know, it feels like the better fights when the fighters get to like put on a little extra weight, you know?
100%. I love it.
Yeah.
Even you know, watching OSP go up to heavyweight, I thought he looked healthy. It looked good.
Yeah,
like I mean, time and time again, we see guys move up. Dustin Poirier, I mean, Masvidal. Like it's so many guys move up and just have better performances.
Yeah.
The only guy moving down was Edson Barbosa.
Yeah.
And he lost his fight.
I know.
Even though he might have won this fight. He lost his fight.
It's true. But Gutierrez and Morales, they're probably going to be back at bantamweight next time they're out, something like that. I'm sure they're not staying at featherweight. But the fights I have seen, like Brian Kelleher out there too the other week, you know, like all these bantamweights fighting at 145, and it's just kind of like, you guys look good at this weight, you know. I want to see the practical application of one's whole crazy, we're just going to move everybody up 10 pounds. But do everything behind closed doors so that you don't actually know where anything really is. Like, you know, USADA's visiting fighters all year at random times. Just like check their weight then too. Record that and make them fight at somewhere close to within a certain percentage of their regular daily walking around weight all year.
Could you imagine a world without weight cutting?
No. It's impossible. The mind boggles.
I know. It's such a cancer to the sport.
Wrapping this all up, though, Gilbert Burns, absolutely coming off a win over Damian Maia. Now Tyron Woodley. He's got as much right to call for a title shot as anybody out there. I'm absolutely would love to see it. It'd be fascinating to see him face somebody who's been a teammate of his for such a long time. Like Usman, teammate fights can be a little weird.
And someone such a willing wrestler and proficient wrestler in Usman. How does that stack up against someone who is as excellent at jiu-jitsu as Burns is?
Yeah.
Maybe they just stand and trade the whole time.
It'd be a fascinating fight. So really, absolutely a great performance from Burns. For Woodley, I picked him coming into this, and it was with that asterisk, that question mark of I don't know where his head's at. I don't know how he's going to look. I think he can handle, he can win this fight if he's the fighter he used to be, but I don't feel better about that now.
Yeah, I think he's what Eugene Robinson calls Lost Battalion.
Ooh, man. Mm-hmm. You don't want to fall on the wrong side of a Eugene Robinson nickname. I know that from experience.
Yeah, I think this guy's Lost Battalion, man. I think, like Burns was saying, Woodley had his time, and I think that time is gone. I think he's just aging out of this division.
Yeah, that's going to be harsh if it's the case. Nobody wants to see Woodley turn into the next Hector Lombard out there.
End up bare knuckle boxing.
Oof. All right. Well, that's not a fitting way to end the show. Great performance.
I'm sorry.
Overall, fun card, a lot of solid fights. Not a lot of meaning in any of it, but it wasn't booked to have a lot of meaning. It's just a fun night of fights and a great main event performance from Burns on top. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and you can find me on Twitter at Zane Simon and Eddie on Twitter at Eddie Mercado. We'll be back next week for UFC 250, Spencer versus Nunez. Thanks everyone. See you then.